Ladies and gentlemen, welcome once again to the Packernet Podcast. I am your host and resident fanalist, as always, Ryan Schlipp. Check us out online, packernet.com. Find me on Twitter, pack_daddy. I gotta be honest, man. People from Detroit warned us. People like JJ and several other callers and other people that you may know from Detroit, they warned us about this. I said several times on the show, you know, people in Michigan, they don't like Lions fans, but I don't see them anywhere. I don't interact with them. So I can't be mad at them. You know what I mean? Like, I don't know. I don't see them lurking around in dark corners when the when the Packers lose. I don't see Lions fans flocking. I don't see any of that. I see mostly Bears fans, and a lot of it has to do with who I interact with. I don't see a lot of Vikings fans either because I don't interact with them. I spent so much time over the last 2 years talking trash about Justin Fields that the algorithm is like, this guy's a big Bears guy right here. He wants to see Bears people. He needs, and they interact with him like he must be a part of that community. So I just didn't see it, and I don't know what I'm supposed to do. You know, part of this whole rivalry thing, I mean, I understand intellectually. Like, for years, it's like most Packer fans viewed the Vikings as bigger rivals. I'm like, that's true. Bears fans freaking annoy me. It's just something that burns in your soul. You know, when I say I hate the 49ers, that started way back, like I said, in the Kaepernick days. That whole crew hated the Packers, and the Packers hated them. And they were violent, and they were vicious, and they beat the crap out of us, and I didn't like it. The rivalry with the 49ers kind of continued because they kept beating us, but it's not as heated. You know what I mean? It's a little bit heated. Go Pack, go the F home is what Kittle said. So it was, whatever. But also, I mean, like I pointed out, our record, at least in the regular season against them, it hasn't been that big of a thing. I think Matt LaFleur is ahead by multiple games, if I'm not mistaken. I know postseason is the most important, but it's losing a little bit of its luster, and it's a team that's on the downswing, and everybody's talking bad about them, and Shanahan's got to go, which I think is silly, but maybe it's not, because I don't know. We're at the point where we're making fun of them. Bears fans, slightly insufferable, but for the most part, they're so beaten down. Vikings fans are, like I said, they remind me of Packers fans. It doesn't matter how good things get, they're always complaining. I mean, there's some optimists for sure. Sam Darnold is going to be elite and all this stuff, but it's hard to get a big group of them talking a lot of trash because they're too busy talking trash about their own team. But I have been introduced to Lions fans, and I go on social media right now. It's not even because, I invited it on myself when I shared it. And I hate to, I mentioned the whole rule thing that I pointed out. I hate when something that I really didn't intend to get out super far and wide. It's something that I was just, within my inner circle of a handful of people that are going to come across this tweet to kind of look at it and go, huh, interesting. Instead, all of Lions fans found it and just went insane. But now that's pretty well blown over. But I can't get on social media and see anything other than Lions and Packer fans fighting, and beyond that, Lions fans talking so much trash. And man, does that tick me off. Again, the fact that they're so loud and abrasive, and just what I think I realized is that Lions fans are like Eagles fans. We just never realized it because they were so bad. I mean, it reminds me of that. Eagles fans are known to be loud and obnoxious. I mean, they haven't like thrown bottles at people quite yet. We haven't gotten to that point, but when you're, a 12-1 team, not much to get angry about, See what happens when things start not going their way again. But just as far as like being violent and dirty and defending it and bragging about it, and it just has such a scummy feel to it that I can't tie any other fan base to other than the Philadelphia Eagles and the players too. The Philadelphia players were maybe not today as much, I don't know, but violent and dirty, and it tied in with the fan base, and the whole thing was just scummy. And now we've got this team that's going around playing dirty, bragging about it, getting away with it, being rewarded by, the refs, first of all, not calling it, the announcers not even addressing it for the month. There are multiple dirty plays that they're like, oh, that was wonderful. That was very well done. The national media just lauding them for being so wonderful. They're obviously being rewarded with their wonderful record. Not that they got that just by being dirty, but I just wish it wasn't the way that it is. They're so cocky and arrogant, and the fan base is falling right in line with what the players are doing. We had a player on the field. I don't know why the fans on the field, I don't know why they were out there. But you got a fan out there doing the throat-slitting motion to our head coach and getting into a verbal fighting match with our coach. I'm pretty sure Matt LaFleur said kick him out of here, and I hope that they did. I'm sure that they didn't, because I'm sure the Detroit security and the Detroit police are just as scummy and douchebaggy as the rest of everybody else around there, and they let him go right back to his seat and continue to be a scumbag. He should have been thrown out for being on the field threatening, doing a I'm going to kill you motion to the head coach of the Green Bay Packers. You got Lions players coming out with a T-shirt of guys giving the middle finger to Packers fans. I mean, it was an uproar and a debate whether it was too far for Rodgers to say, I own you. We got Lions fans out here flipping people off, just saying that's the greatest thing ever. Granted, David Bakhtiari did that once and it was pretty funny, but it's the whole thing. They got a little bit of success, and rather than being humble, rather than being grateful, they immediately went to F all of you. We're better than all of you. You all suck. You all lick our boots. You're all scum. They haven't accomplished a damn thing. From a fan base that makes fun of the Packers for going to the playoffs every year, winning the division almost every year, but not winning Super Bowls, they're going to come out because they went to the playoffs one time in 30 years, one time. This will be their second time because they swept the Packers this year. This is what makes you so great and so elite. You're hypocritical scumbags. And honestly, what it tells me is that all these fan bases and teams are lying when they say that the Packers have not accomplished anything or shouldn't be proud of their history or any of that kind of stuff. Because of course they're lying. But is there any humility? Is there any gratefulness? No, there isn't. They have a head coach that has instilled nothing but this sort of toughness thing. And it's worked. It's worked very well. But it has also permeated the culture of this team. And it is 98% of their identity. And that is bleeding out in some pretty negative ways. Alpha male energy is the only thing that matters. I'm better than you. I own you. All that stuff. I bring that up because that's kind of what I've been experiencing the last couple of days. But then I saw this and I got to push play on the podcast. I saw the Detroit Times. So again, the media is involved in this. Everybody's involved. The fans, the media, everybody. J-Mo cooking Jayden Reed on Instagram. Okay, what the heck is this now? So Jayden Reed made a comment apparently on the St. Brown podcast. So they're having it's not like he made some unsolicited comment. He was talking on a podcast. They're having fun. They're joking around. Jayden Reed says, yeah, wait until I come to Detroit. So big SG J-Mo says, did he come? Laughing face, crying face. Jayden Reed says, do your homework on career stats. And J-Mo says, you're only as good as your last game. That's stupid. I wish I could say a stronger word than stupid, but it's not a nice word. It is brain dead. It is 22 IQ. And the fact that Lions fans see this as like, oh, that's so funny. And the Detroit Times is, oh, he cooked Jayden Reed. No, he didn't. You're only as good as your last game? I'm sorry, should we erase Aaron Rodgers' entire career history because his last game and even his last year were not very good? Does that erase his entire history? Last week, did you know that Bryce Young graded out higher than Josh Allen and Lamar Jackson? Does that mean because you're only as good as your last game that Lamar is not an MVP candidate? He shouldn't be? And that Bryce Young maybe should be because he was like a top 5 quarterback? Is this what we're saying? No, because nobody believes you're only as good as your last game. I do wish somebody would have said that to him his first game back from suspension, because that would have been funny. But of course he can say that now because he had one of his only good games of the year, one of like I don't know, 4. It was like tied for his third best game, I think. And it was 80 yards. Okay. The guy has, as has been pointed out, more days suspended than he has touchdowns. And he's going to sit here and brag to a guy that is really, through his career, been a much better player as a, mid-second round guy compared to an early first-round guy. Jayden Reed has been a better football player for the Packers than J-Mo has been for Detroit. Jayden Reed in 2 years has more yards and more touchdowns than Jameson Williams in 3 years. And if you think I'm going to cut him any slack because of his suspensions, I'm sorry, that gets tied into the record. Maybe you get some slack if it's like an injury, but if it's a self-inflicted wound, like a suspension because you're a scumbag like the rest of your team, well, then I'm sorry. You don't get any credit for that. On top of that, you have Lions fans spending their entire days defending Kirby Joseph for launching himself at people's knees. In the comment section, as you'll see, he's already taken several people out, as in launched at their knees, and you can see their legs snap in half. And they're out there defending it. And one of the big ways that they're defending it is posting a picture, one still shot that they find of Zane Anderson, who's on his knees and is wrapping up a player behind the line of scrimmage. So he's wrapping up the legs and driving through as high as he possibly can, because, again, he's down on his knees. But because it's a still shot that looks as though he's down launching at a person's knees, which he clearly is not, this apparently means that Packer fans are hypocrites. No, you have a dirty player that is a known dirty player that has a history of literally taking out people's knees, that got into a feud with one of our players and then dove headfirst at that person's knees. And you're going to spend your days defending that? You are as big a scumbags as he is. Then you got J.J. Watt out there also defending. Oh, well, what else is he supposed to do? Tackle. Tackle is what you're supposed to do. Well, he's bigger. I don't care. You like, where is he supposed to hit him? There is an area from your shoulder pads to above the knee that you can launch at. If you're a smaller guy, you want to go lower. That doesn't mean knee. You're shooting for like the waist. You wrap up and drive through. And even if you can't drive him straight back because he's big, guess what happens? You're going to grab onto him and he's going to go down. He might fall forward, but he's going to go down. But he didn't want to do that. He didn't even want to try to tackle. And you got these defensive players who are so caught up on this crusade to say that, the NFL is a physical sport and the offense gets away with everything, but that now they're just defending everything. It's like, yeah, you have a point to a degree, but when you get to the point that just because it's a defender, that you have to defend all the defenders no matter what they do, that you're going to now defend people as they launch themselves head first, no attempt to tackle whatsoever. The arms don't even come into play. As if you don't know what a tackle looks like. And that's the thing. J.J. Watt does know better. He absolutely knows how you're supposed to tackle. He knows all about the safety of it. But he's so caught up and captured in this defend the defenders thing. Oh, don't call him dirty. You just don't understand. I mean, he's trying his best. Shut up. This is a guy who brags about everything that he does and talks a lot of trash. And again, he had a direct conflict with one of our players and dove at his knees. Imagine this. Imagine you have a history of diving at people's knees and you've watched people get carted off and taken to hospitals because of what you've done to them, and you continue to do that as a means of tackling people. You're going to tell me that guy's not a scumbag? That no part of you on the inside said, I can't do that anymore. The fact that the Lions, that their head coach never said to them, don't do that anymore. In fact, they seem to be encouraged to do it. At no point has anybody on that team ever been told, do not do that. Again, I get the tough guy thing. I understand. I think it's fantastic what Dan Campbell has done to that team. They have made them a very physical, very violent team, and that's great. But it appears we have begun to go over a tipping point. And the NFL needs to intervene at some point because this is getting out of hand. If you're going to pretend to care about player safety, guys like Kirby Joseph are going to absolutely, at the very least, he needs to get fined. And if he does it again after this, even though he's done it numerous times, he is a repeat offender and should be treated as such. Even still, if he does it one other time, there is now a suspension. He needs to be told that. Here is a fine. And in that letter is going to say, if you're seen to do this again, there will be a multi-game suspension. They did it to Al-Shaair because he's a repeat offender that did a thing that is considered violent. But because Tucker Kraft and the tight ends aren't quarterbacks, because they're not the moneymakers, because nobody cares if that guy rips his ACL, apparently they don't care. Because, as we all know, that, it's a very open secret, the NFL doesn't care about player safety. They care about their pocketbooks. They don't want lawsuits, and they don't want to lose the moneymakers, which are the quarterbacks. So they're worried about head injuries because that brought lawsuits, and they're worried about losing quarterbacks. But tight ends' knees? Nah. They don't give a damn. You better believe if that was Pat Mahomes and he was diving at his knees like that, there would have been a recognition of that being a dirty play. But it's Tucker Kraft. Nobody even knows him. Nobody cares. Plus, we adore the Lions, and we know that they're a violent, physical team, and we kind of like it. They're such an enjoyable team. I keep seeing that, too. It's so sickening. You got that jag-off Bears fan go, admit it, you kind of like it. No, I don't. And nobody else in the NFC North, Bears, Vikings, or Packers fans, none of us like the Lions, but you are a douche. But you got these other national guys, the Lions are the best team to root. This is the most enjoyable team to root for in my lifetime. What the hell is wrong? What are you talking about? Why? Because of Dan Campbell? Is that really what this is all about? Because you got this big freaking steroided out, juiced out Rudolph the reindeer looking freaking scumbag? That's all hopped up on coffee for some freaking... Guy's going to have a heart attack. I mean, I guarantee you. This guy is loaded up on steroids and way too much caffeine. If this guy's heart doesn't explode by the age of 50, I will be shocked. I mean, I understand that people generally like the guys that I don't like. I like guys like Andy Reid. He's a little bit quiet. He's a little bit understated, but damn, he is talented. Right? And now the commercials, everybody's mad at Andy Reid because I think the freaking commercial's hilarious. I'm every time I watch commercials with coaches and players, it's so annoying because they're terrible actors. Aaron Rodgers was a terrible actor, although those commercials with the "Hey Rodgers," that guy was pretty funny. Pat Mahomes is it's the same kind of acting too, where it's just Andy Reid. You could have told me he is just an actor, and I would have believed it. That dude is. I'm sorry, I find that to be funny. But I like guys. I like Matt LaFleur. There are guys that I like and guys that I respect, like Mike Tomlin, I think that are deserving of respect. But who are the guys that get respect? You got Mike McDaniel down in Florida because he's a little quirky. He acts like he's high on freaking heroin all the time. So that's pretty cool. And he has a rolled up pant leg for some stupid reason. I don't know why, but he's super quirky and we like it. And oh my goodness. And then you got this guy he talks about biting kneecaps and he just screams randomly. And his team is kind of violent and kind of dirty, and so we like that too. Okay, I guess, sure. Yeah, let's go with that. Let's just go with that. Like the national media has any idea who to root for anyway. Every time they talk about someone like Brian Daboll or anybody else, they flame out immediately. They don't know what the hell they're looking at. They don't know what they're talking about. And I tell you what, I hope everybody gets hired away. I really do. I understand a lot of their culture is going to remain because Dan Campbell is the culture, but I hope just really shaking things up because they've had the same cohesive unit, which is beneficial. Remember, this is like year 5 for them. They've had like the same crew for a very long time, instilling a culture, instilling an offense, instilling a defense. That level of cohesiveness is very beneficial. Blow it up. Blow it up. Sick of this crap. Listen, to some degree, I understand. When you lose, you got to take it on the chin. And we do. We lost to the Vikings. Did I come on here and scream like this about the Vikings? No, I didn't. You know why? Because Vikings fans, by and large, some of them are, by and large, not super big douchebags. They're going to do what fans do when they win. They're going to gloat. They're going to do this. They're going to do that. But you would never have known that the Lions were ever a bad football team. As in, like, 2 years ago when they missed the playoffs. They have 2 playoff wins in 30 years. 32 now, I think. I mean, accidentally pushed a button. The freaking audacity. Take a break. do a little bit more, and then I'm going to try to move off of this. But suffice it to say, they might have moved to public enemy number one, man. I am just exhausted with their bull crap. And in record time, it took years for me to get that annoyed with the Bears. Years of the 49ers. Holy cow, this team. Take a break. We'll be right back. And again, this is how Lions fans have no ability to see anything. Because again, we've lost a lot of games. Lots of them. The entire idea behind learn to take an L is completely eradicated by the fact that we've taken lots of L's over our lifetime. And this is the most obnoxious anybody has ever been in a win over the Packers. But of course, asking a Lions fan to acknowledge that would be asking them to actually use some brain power. Why is this so unique? Why are Packer fans uniquely upset in this situation? Why are they uniquely upset with the refs? Which is weird because they acknowledge that all those penalties did happen or didn't happen or whichever direction it goes. Why is this so much? Well, it's because we took the North. Bro, the Packers have lost the North numerous times to the Vikings, mostly, not ever to you. The Bears, it sucks. It's not fun. I'm not saying we enjoy it. But you need to understand that this is not ever the reaction. The reaction is what it is because we're reacting to things that happened. And the things that happened, number one, horrific officiating. Number two, very dirty team that got away with it. And number three, the way you're acting. We are literally just reacting to the way you're acting. We got knocked out by Tampa Bay. That felt bad, right? In Lambeau, that felt real bad. Tampa didn't act like this. Tom Brady didn't go around throwing up the double bird. Again, George Kittle said, go Pack, go the F home. That stung. It did. It wasn't like this. And then, again, just the complete lack of... These guys come crawling out of the woodwork. The same people that had bags on their heads when they went to games not that long ago because they were ashamed to even show their face when they went to Lions games, want to now lecture one of the most successful franchises in NFL history about fandom and success. Here is Stick Radio, who is owner of Hayes Social, whatever that is, Bloomfield Bounce House, Woodward Sports Network. Oh, I do know Woodward Sports Network. That's got that loudmouth freaking guy. Former DJ, whatever. Okay? Here's what Mega Intellect has to say.
I just want to make something clear because I'm seeing a lot of it. There's no such thing as a Packers fan. Let's be honest. It's real easy to be a fan of a team that wins all the time.
Okay, you freaking moron. You just said there's no such thing as a Packers fan and then said it's easy to be a Packers fan. I swear.
Your team sucks now.
No, they don't. What are you talking about? For a fan base that watched their team go winless for a season and not know what sucks means, you freaking half-wit moron.
Your coach is a beta.
He's a beta. He is one of the most successful head coaches in NFL history, far eclipsing your garbage head coach. But because you're having a second good season in a row, you've had 2 good seasons now, you have the right to sit here and talk all this trash. Like you've accomplished a damn thing.
Your quarterback, meh.
No, he's better than Goff, but okay.
Meh, at best. Now we're going to see what it's like for you guys to support a team that doesn't win.
They're 9-3, you jag off.
7-1 against the Packers in the last 4 years. 7-1.
And where has that gotten you? Where has that gotten you? You've been to the playoffs 1 time in that stretch. So your entire basis for being successful is that you've beaten the Packers? I mean, the Bears used to do that. Their entire identity was beating the Packers. And they did that quite often. And they weren't a very good football team. Yeah, so the Lions beat the Packers. Cool. And? How does that support a day? That means nothing. A lot of those wins, the Packers won the division and you didn't go to the playoffs. And what? And that means the Packers are bad despite the fact that they're one of the best teams in football right now? You are stupid.
You are a poverty franchise now.
I can't say the word. That is so stupid. Poverty franchise. You are an idiot.
Now, enjoy your food stamps, Packers. We've been living off them for years.
Yes, you have. So you should know the difference. For decades. For decades, you have been an absolute joke of a franchise. The Packers are not that. They are going to the playoffs this year. They're going to the playoffs. It's already basically done. They have a 98% chance of going to the playoffs when we're like, 3/4 of the way through the season? This is one of the earliest the Packers have had this basically locked up in I don't know the last time. It's one of the best seasons the Packers have had. And you're calling it a poverty franchise. You are stupid.
Years being Lions fans. Now that we get to eat, you get to stand out in the cold and watch.
No, we're not. We're going to the playoffs. We're not standing outside watching. The Vikings will be there too, just in case you didn't know.
Enjoy. Just remember, you're not a real fan because you've only had to root for winning teams. We'll test your...
Yeah, real fan. A real fan is a fan that doesn't run his mouth until his team starts winning. A real fan is a fan base that puts a bag over their head and is ashamed of their team and is quiet until they start winning, and then they want to pop up and lecture a successful franchise about what it means to be successful, and apparently doesn't even know what a lack of success looks like, because one of the winningest teams in the NFL right now is being called a poverty franchise. You absolute half-wit moron.
Your fandom now because they're never winning the North again.
Oh, you sound so stupid. You sound like Ryan Poles, never winning the North again. You're so unbelievably stupid. You're an arrogant moron. You are so dumb. You haven't even won the North yet. I tell you what, I am the biggest Vikings fan in the world right now, aside from when we play them. I could not be a bigger Vikings fan. I want the Vikings to win the North so bad. Assuming we can't win it, which we probably can't at this point, unless the Lions go on an unprecedented spiral of death. I need the Vikings with Sam Darnold to be better than the Lions, because I don't care if the joke is on us too, I will laugh hysterically at the Lions for losing the North when Sam Darnold was the quarterback of the Vikings. In your best season ever, you couldn't even win the North against Sam Darnold. Poverty franchise. I can't not root for that at this point. I just can't. And I'm also rooting for the Bears because I want them to get bad draft position. I hate to be this bad of a fan, but I am. Lions, death. I want the Eagles to get the number 1 seed because screw both of those teams, but I do want the Vikings to end on a better record than the Lions because these absolute stupid people. I think maybe they had oxygen deprivation from all the years of putting bags over their heads. Public service announcement, folks. Putting a bag over your head kills lots and lots and lots of brain cells. This is one of the dumbest forms of analysis I've ever heard. I fully understand that some fan bases will pump up their own people. They'll do stupid stuff like that. Oh, Justin Fields is so good. And they pumped up Sam Darnold and it worked out. So, freaking broken clock is right twice a day or whatever that stupid thing is. Assuming you're not using military time. Military time clock, one of those. They probably exist, right? I don't know. Go on Amazon. You're telling me there's 0? Get out of here. But this is just stupidity. You're bragging about winning the North and never giving it back when you haven't even won the North. I mean, let me ask another question. Are you even a fan of a team? I've accused the Bears and their fans of this for years. Are you even a fan of your team if the entire measure of your fandom is beating the Packers? Because that's obviously the only thing you measure. The season's not over, and you count this as a victory because you swept the Packers. So now it's officially a victory. Nothing else apparently matters. You also cite the fact that you've beaten the Packers, 7 out of 8 times or whatever it is, which, again, not happy about it, but it's clearly not a measure of success, but for you it seems to be. It's interesting to me that the entire measure of Bears and Lions fans' success is how much they hate and how successful they are against the Packers. That's weird because most fan bases that I'm aware of, the measure of success is the success of the team that they root for, not the downfall of the team that they hate. You know what my definition of a Bears fan is. I've said it several times. It is a person who hates the Green Bay Packers and second favorite team is the Chicago Bears. I don't know about the whole second favorite team with Lions fans. I don't know. I didn't grow up with them. I don't know how they all operate. But I do know that the definition of a Lions fan is somebody who hates the Green Bay Packers, and that takes priority over the Lions. We just learned that because their season is basically complete today after they beat the Packers for a second time. It's done. It's over. And they act like they did something special because they won on a last-second field goal to end the game. Wow, yes, you are so much better than the poverty Packers who have a very similar record and came within seconds of beating you. Like, put another minute on the clock. Give Jordan Love 60 seconds to drive down and match that. Because your defense kind of got they got handled. This defense that you take so much pride in could not stop the Packers at all. After the first quarter or so, they pretty much just drove down the field at will against your team. And you're going to sit here and pretend like you have some powerhouse team and the Packers are some pathetic, winless team is the dumbest take I've ever heard in my life. I'm impressed, to be honest. I thought Bears fans were the dumbest fans on planet Earth, and I feel as though that may not be the case. Because on top of being apparently really dumb, you add in scumbags, and we've got ourselves a real special combination here with Lions fans. Bragging about being dirty players and defending it all day long, and then saying the Packers are a poverty franchise. Am I supposed to actually believe your take on Jordan Love is legitimate when you call the Packers a poverty franchise? You know, we both played the same team and got exited by the same team in the playoffs last year, right? You know the Packers were better than you by the end of last year, right? And you know the Packers right now are about as good as you, as the Lions seem to be slipping down and the Packers seem to be getting better every week. Similar trajectory to last year. But you beat the Packers twice, and that's all that matters, because apparently the definition of a Lions fan is somebody that wears blue and hates the Packers. You want to call the Packers irrelevant? The entire NFC North is obsessed with the Packers. We are the reason the Vikings, Bears, and Lions even exist. We're the reason that you guys are even relevant. Nobody would care about the Bears or the Lions or the Vikings if it wasn't that they were in a rivalry with the greatest team in NFL history. The Bears in particular is the only thing they keep clinging to. Oh, we have the greatest rivalry in history. You have the greatest rivalry in history. You have the greatest rivalry in history. It's the only greatest they can cling to, as they continually try to make that a thing, as though there is a rivalry to talk about, which there isn't. And by the way, that isn't why the Packers are good, because they beat the Bears all the time. That's just a funny little side note. The Lions are one of the worst franchises in the entire history of the NFL. One of the most inept, horrible franchises. And you have had 2 good years, basically, in 30 seasons. And you ought to jump up and call the Packers poverty at 4 now. 9-4. This is a franchise who almost never even got to 9 wins, ever. I mean, that was basically a successful season if they ever got to 9 wins. By the way, there have been a lot of one-score games, and they've won almost all of them. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7 one-score games, and they're 6-1. You know what we know about one-score games? It largely comes down to luck, and teams that are we know that it comes down to luck because teams that are very good in one-score games one year do not replicate that the next year. So this whole thing, because I'm sure Lions fans will fire back with, "Well, that's because of coaching. That's because of..." Okay, explain to me then why teams do not replicate that. One of the biggest indicators of a team that's about to fall off, you find a team that had a unbelievably good record in one-score games. Guess who that applies to this year? The Detroit Lions. Last year, I believe the record was 6-4 in one-score games. So basically 50-50, which is about what you would expect. Because it's a one-score game, and a lot of it does come down to luck and things like, who has the ball last. You're 6-4. What did I say you were this year? 7-1? Something like that? This season very largely has come down to luck. And if you don't believe that, look at their last 2 games. Very easily could have lost to the Packers, to the Bears, to the Texans they should have lost to. 5 turnovers, and they won. You know why? Luck. The Houston Texans had like the worst game ever. That's pretty lucky to have somebody collapse as hard as you collapse when you're having the biggest collapse in NFL history. Very easily could have lost to the Vikings. Very easily could have lost to the Cardinals. Very easily could have lost to the Rams. Beat the Rams in overtime. Who won the coin toss? The Lions did, and they went down and got a touchdown. That sure was fortunate, wasn't it? You could almost call that luck that you got the ball first, right? It's literally a coin flip. But no, that's fine. Just go on believing that you're going to be, 16-1 every year or whatever it is you think is going to happen. Pretend you've won the season already when the Vikings are a game behind you. Pretend the Packers are a poverty franchise because they lost in a slop fest in a different country in week 1 and lost to the Vikings by 2 points. Yeah, they lost to the Eagles by 5. They lost to the Vikings by 2 points when their quarterback just came back from injury, and he came back way too early. And then the other 2 losses were to Detroit, where in Week 9, the Packers did play like garbage, and Week 14 was, again, a coin flip game. 3 of the 4 losses are one-score losses. The Packers right now are 5-3 in one-score games. 5-3. It's about right. I mean, you do remember the Vikings a couple years ago, right? They had an NFL record for 11 wins in one-score games. Is it because they're really good in one-score games, or did they completely fall off the next year? In fact, I can do this, and did do this mathematically. I'll tell you what, I don't do enough with Patreon, so I'll put some of this stuff up there so you can see it. We can normalize the records. We can look at what would happen if it was 50% of, you win 50% of all one-score games. If that were the case, let's do this. Based on records right now, the Detroit Lions would have 15.7 wins, so closer to 16 wins. Then it would be Kansas City, Buffalo, Philadelphia, Minnesota, Pittsburgh, Green Bay, LAC, Denver, Baltimore would be the top 10. But if we look at correcting for one-score games, that'll give me a normalized win percentage, and I can multiply that by 17 as well. Buffalo would actually be the number 1 team with 12.75 wins. Then it would be Detroit with 12.42. In fact, it would be the exact same. Denver and Detroit would be tied. Green Bay would be 10.4 wins. So you're looking at Detroit with 12 wins, Green Bay with 10 wins. Minnesota would be 9.9, so 10 wins, but below Green Bay. Chicago would be 8.5, tied with San Francisco and Arizona. So again, Detroit's having a good season. But to be clear, they're playing like a 12-win team, not a 16-win team. Detroit is one of the biggest beneficiaries of quote-unquote luck. Minnesota is actually even more so. Green Bay, very marginally. They go from 11.7 wins to 10.5 wins. Chicago is obviously getting completely screwed in one-score games. They go from 5.6 wins on the season to 8.5 wins on the season. You know how many wins Detroit had last year? 12. You know what the team looks like this year? 12-win team. They're the same team as last year, which is a good team. Don't get me wrong. They're good. They're not some elite dynamo, powerhouse, undefeated, can't be beat in the postseason type of team. They're just not. Again, they very easily could have been 0-2 their last 2 weeks going into this game against Buffalo, which unfortunately I was hoping was in Buffalo, but it is in Detroit. But yes, the Packers are clearly a poverty franchise that should fall to their knees and worship you because you are a 12-win team and we are a 10-win team. All hail the mighty Detroit Lions. They are truly a sight to behold. Nobody has ever won 12 wins in a game or more because they're lucky. Nobody has ever won the NFC North before. This is the first time anybody has done it. Certainly the first time anyone has done it twice in a row. We are witnessing NFL history here. Truly, truly historic run by the Detroit Lions. Really incredible stuff. Just as I'm about to take a break and move off of this, I see somebody commented on something that I retweeted. You never know what it is. It's Amon-Ra blowing a kiss at a Packers fan who's giving him the middle finger, and somebody put 12 dash and then his middle finger to show 12-1, best record in the NFL. So it's a Lions fan bragging. What is he bragging about? He's commenting on a post from Zach Cruz that says Christian Watson's last 10 catches, 59 yards, 29 yards, 20 yards, 6 yards, 46 yards, 21 yards, 60 yards, 48 yards, 25 yards, 17 yards, which is 10 catches for 331 yards, averaging 33.1 yards per catch, 18.4 yards per target over the last 4 games. What does that have to do with the Lions being 12-1? You obnoxious douchebag. Nothing is the answer. You don't need to be here. This had nothing to do with you. It was not about being better than you. And it was nothing about that. Ironically, he posted, or not posted, this is his profile thing or whatever. Work hard in silence. Let success talk for you. Detroit versus everybody. First of all, you're being freaking worshipped right now as the most fun team I've ever had to root for in my entire life. This whole garbage. The Chiefs did the same crap. This arrogant idea because you're the best team in football and are being just absolutely worshipped and gushed over. And to have the audacity to step up and be like, it's us versus the world. Oh, you're being shoved down my throat 24/7. And you're acting oppressed? Why? Because teams want to beat you like every other team? Oh, our opponents want to beat us so bad. Wow, you poor thing. Work hard in silence as he goes around posting on random Packers posts that have nothing to do with the Lions, saying 12-1, best record in the NFL. Work hard in silence. Why do people even write on those things? What do I have on mine? Host of the Packernet podcast and proud Gootlicker. That's it. I'm fine with that. I don't know why people post stuff on them, because every time you see it, it's always contradictory to exactly who they are. Anyways, let's take a break, and we'll be right back. So there's a couple things I want to kind of run through, but I found this actually very interesting, and I think it's worth noting when guys have bad days. For example, I gave Jaden Reed a pass because it's possible that based on the schematics and whatnot, that it wasn't his game, the way that they were playing, and that's why it ended up being more of a Wicks and a Watson game. I don't know that it's true, but it just kind of made logical sense, and so my immediate thought was it's possible that he just had a bad day because he had a bad day. It's also possible that he had a pretty standard day, but he just doesn't operate as well in these situations. I didn't give Josh Myers that level of grace and the right guard as well, and it is interesting because this is, I don't know if I said this. I had to redo this section because it got all freaking robot-y again. But this is Kurt Benkert, an observation that he had made. I'm going to play this. I'm going to try to talk you through it. It's kind of weird because you can't see it and whatnot, but I don't want to summarize it. I want him to say it in his words, and we'll kind of go through it together. But it sounds to me like they found a schematic deficiency on the way our offense operates, and they took advantage of it, and primarily it really hurt Josh Myers, and at least in this play, he's lined up between Josh Myers and Sean Ryan, which is the two areas that, remember, I said everybody else was exactly the same. Those two guys are the two that fell off. Just keep in mind as he's talking, this guy's lined up essentially over the ball, but he's shaded to Sean Ryan's side.
All right, let's talk about the number one thing that, in my opinion, cost the Packers this game more than anything else. We can talk about the refs, we can talk about the scheme, we can talk about fumbles, whatever. This one thing. They take forever to get play calls in, they take forever to get the right guys in, and they take forever to get the play operating on third down. Now, with that, you have one guy that is crowding the out of the ball. Is that neutral zone infraction? I don't know. I'm not a ref. He's further ahead of anybody else on the defense, and he was there all night long. You can watch the film. They're not going to call it. I don't think they should because he's not technically on the ball. I mean, he's about as close as possible, and he's leaned back. Now, why is this a problem? Well, the Packers are running silent count because they are in Detroit Stadium. This is third down, and the crowd is really loud. Now, the Packers have multiple different silent counts. They have silent 1, silent 2, silent dummy. They have silent Ricky, silent Lucy, and all of those things change how this guy operates.
Talking about Myers.
And it makes these guys not able to get a beat on it and just tee off. Now, when you have a center that is looking through his legs to snap it, instead of some teams that have a guard that's going to tap, that means that the center has his eyes no longer on what's happening up front.
You keep in mind, what's happening in front of him is a guy their helmets are almost touching.
because he needs to time it up with the motion that has a specific landmark and all this and that. And also, they're low in the play clock. So stay with me. This guy right here knows that
Defensive tackle that's on the ball.
the clock is ticking. Play clock 3, play clock 2, play clock 1.
All right, so just to be clear, he played it for a second and then paused it. As soon as that ball was snapped, everybody teed off. But there's a difference. So there's the guy that's lined up over the ball, and then everybody else is way back from him. And so there's a weird thing where, you know how the offensive lines kind of create a V shape with the center at the front of it. They also have a guy right on the center. There's a pretty big gap between the tackles and the edge rushers, the guards, and all these guys coming. I mean, there's in this particular place 7 guys are coming. So it's, I don't know if everybody's going to. He paused it kind of early. But there's 7 guys that I'm looking at here. But of that group, the defensive tackle, at the snap, at the point he paused it, Jordan Love doesn't even have the ball in his hands yet. So just to give you some concept of how much time has elapsed here, the center has snapped the ball, and that ball has not even reached Jordan Love yet. The center has barely had an opportunity to even get his head up. The Detroit Lions defensive tackle is not quite shoulder to shoulder, but his helmet is past Josh Myers' helmet. So we'll let it continue, but just to give you an idea of what he's describing right now is a situation where they've been able to find a deficiency and find a way to get a defensive tackle that is not a very talented player, but it doesn't matter. You get a guy that knows how to get off, boom, fast, and he's going to be able to basically sneak past the center before he can even react.
Snap it. Look at how fast his get off is. And he's already crowding the ball. I mean, it does not get any better time than that.
Yeah, it is perfectly timed. As Josh Myers is moving the ball back, it's almost like it's synced up. Like to the millisecond when that ball moves, the defensive tackle is moving with him. So he's moving forward as the center's arm is moving back between his legs. It's crazy how timed they have this. And remember what he's saying, you can have all the dummy counts and everything else in the world that you want, but at the end of the day, when the clock hits 0, I know that this time when Jordan Love lifts his leg and puts it back down, that's the signal to snap it. They have to snap it this time, right? It's not going to be on the next one because there is no next one because the clock's at 0.
Now, because he knows that the play clock is now at 1 or 0, as soon as he throws his head up at all or moves his back or anything, he knows the ball is being snapped because he knows their snap count. He knows their silent snap count on the leg with motion, critical situation. He knows the play clock. He knows that this is on 1. The Packers can't go on 2. They can't go on dummy because they're waiting to the last minute with the play call that's taking a long time, getting guys set up, the shifts, the motions, all that. They cannot run a dummy cadence out of silent on 3rd and 5. And he knows that because he watches film and he's studied up and he gets it.
And because the coaches literally told him, when the clock hits 0 and the center lifts his head, you run immediately.
Look at his get off. Every single time.
This time he paused it. The ball is just behind. I mean, it is not even past where the guards are, is where he has it paused. The defensive tackle is already about helmet to helmet with Josh Myers. The ball has just that millisecond left Josh Myers' hand.
That happened all night long. If you watch the game, you know what I'm talking about. Good luck being Josh Myers.
Right.
Good luck being you trying to block somebody that's already in your shit. And not to mention, like I said, most teams in the league, they'll have the guard tap and the center will be up and ready. That's a hard spot to go into. Look at how close this is. I mean, the ball is not even past his just barely, and he's already across the line of scrimmage.
Yep.
Jordan Love doesn't even have the ball till now.
Right.
And he is...
Yeah, so right now, he's going to say it, but Jordan Love just got the ball. Josh Myers is already turned. He's already turned. He is not, his shoulders are not flush with the line of scrimmage. His left shoulder and right shoulder are almost adjacent, if that's the right word. They're almost intersecting perfectly with the line of scrimmage. He's turned. And for further reference, nobody else on the offensive line has even touched anybody else yet. The defenders have not even reached the offensive lineman yet. And Josh Myers is already turned. And he's the one that had to snap the ball. So he's it's hardest for him to even get up in time.
Already a yard deep in the backfield splitting guys.
Yep. And 1 second later, he's past him. He's past Josh Myers. Josh Myers has got one arm hooked around his chest, and the guy's in Jordan Love's face. And the other guys have just started to engage with the offensive lineman.
That gives the Packers no chance at all. And yeah, did they miss this illegal hands to the face, roughing the passer? Hell yeah, they did. I don't know what the he's looking at. However,
there is a ref right there. I was saying this before because, it's like I'm assuming there's a ref behind the line of scrimmage that must have seen all these penalties that happen behind the line of scrimmage. There's 2 refs behind the line of scrimmage, and one of them on that Zadarius Smith punch, I mean, he could not be lined up any perfectly. He ran right behind the quarterback, and even though it's behind, you can still see the way he has it framed or paused. Jordan Love's head is down. Zadarius is on top of him with his hand going down into his face. And the ref is looking at him because why else would he be looking anywhere else? Jordan Love has the ball.
This shouldn't even come to this point because they need to change how they do silent cadence.
Right.
All because of this. And it starts with maybe getting a play call in.
And by the way, if you think that the Lions are the only ones that know this has now been telegraphed to everybody. Seattle will do this. Seattle will do this. If they don't change it, Seattle's going to do the exact same thing. Get snugged up. There's a reason why he's the only one that's snugged up, right? There's a reason. Why is he all the way up there? Because he's watching the center specifically. And as soon as the center snapped his head, he goes past the center. You can't do that to the tackle. I mean, you can try. I mean, they all get off pretty quick, but it doesn't matter because they're far enough back. They can be off the ball. And a lot of teams are doing that now. If you notice, the center's up and everybody else is way off the center. They're trying to create space so that the pass rushers have to get up and then run at them straight. They don't want them getting low and into them. The center doesn't have the option to be back off the ball. He has to be on the ball. So that guy is different. Everybody else, you're going to have to pass rush a different way. But this center can be exploited because he has to be on top of the ball. So as soon as he snaps it, we all go. But this guy, he runs right past Josh Myers. Josh Myers, I don't know that he had a terrible day. He got screwed because the Lions noticed something and exploited it. That is what happened.
Sooner, maybe calling a more simple play call because you're on the road, maybe changing your snap count to be a different silent snap count that everybody else uses. Because when you have all those things against you and the quarterback is forced to go silent quick count, well, good God, is this guy just going to tee off and create problems?
Would almost be interested to go back and watch Miami and see if they had kind of figured that out. I'm guessing not. Because, I mean, look, he's right. I mean, if you wanted to point to one thing that really screwed us in this game, it was the fact that we couldn't contain the pass rush, primarily right up the gut, and now we can identify why. I mean, you can point to 5, 6, 7, 8 other things, but number one, I don't want to point at the refs because that's, even though they were bad, that's a stupid way to go. This right here would be the easiest thing to identify and say, man, you change the pressure, you probably change the outcome of this game a little bit. And again, they have to. I mean, the great thing about it, too, is assuming the Packers can identify it and see that it was a flaw, it's upsetting that nobody in the booth seemed to identify it, or maybe they did later. I don't know. But the good thing about it is hopefully you'll be able to exploit it. Not entirely sure if it's completely dependent on the clock hitting 0, which it probably is, but even still, it's kind of something to work on. Boy, oh boy. I tell you what, I'm going to save. I got something else, but I wanted it to be a bigger part of what we were doing, so I'm going to save that for later. I'm going to get out of here. You guys have a good rest of your day. I will talk to you tonight, tomorrow, whatever. Have a good one. Bye-bye.